Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Kasrabi. Thank you for joining us on our regular Tuesday show where we come live and also on the podcast. So you can just check out our podcasting, JQK Law or U.S. Immigration Talk, I think we call it. You find that on podcasting places. But we come here to take your general questions. And don't have answers if you're going to ask about timelines, unfortunately. That is the most difficult question because there's no answer to it. It's one of those things in life. What is the point of life? Why are we here? All this kind of stuff. And when will my case move forward? That's one of the questions for the ages. And I don't have an answer for you here. There'll be other institutions that can help you with that, but not this, unfortunately, because I can't guess that one. But we talked about general U.S. immigration, taking your general kind of questions. We're live on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and a bunch of them. But the most chance of me seeing your question is probably going to be if you come on YouTube. So I do recommend posting it there, especially on TikTok, where a million people ask the same question or this over and over their questions a million times because it's really hard to figure out what's going on in the craziness of it. But it's always a lively show, and it fills up half an hour here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, and it's 8 p.m. Eastern. We catch a good audience, have regulars too. It's really cool to have a show like this. They have a regular audience that comes and watches, and I've gotten to know through the years. It's really interesting. You have your own TV show, broadcast around the world, and people join in and they can talk, and eventually you have relationships. There's clients and all sorts of stuff that come, and clients turn to friends too, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a blessing to have this position and to do it all the way in my home. Welcome to the new economy as the questions start to roll in. So again, we're talking about U.S. immigration. Yusuf asks, I'm living away from my spouse because she is disrespectful since since 2 months in different state with green card, conditional green card. Well, I'm sorry to hear having marital difficulties is probably one of the worst things in life. So I'm sorry to hear that. But you're able to keep your green card as long as marriage is real, which I assume it was if it's all personal. I do need to update your address. That's safe. But you should talk with us in private because what happens is a conditional green card is a 2-year green card. I'm trying to pause it there because I could talk a bunch on this. This is the most annoying part of the immigration system, dealing with Form I-751 if you have a marriage that's on the rocks. So what happens is if your marriage is new before you get the green card, um, the green card that they do give you is a temporary or conditional green card. Essentially, it does all the same things as the regular green card, except that you have to within before the 2-year mark of the green card expiring, you have to file another application to keep the green card. And the point of that application is to check to see if you're really a couple. And typically, people are still married and they file the case together, and they give documents. Now that case is taking forever. The government's assuming it's going to start taking 4 years. So ahead of time, they're saying once you file this case, you'll get an automatic 4-year extension. But what's crazy and annoying about this process is, let's say you're with somebody and a year and a half into it, things don't work out, you want to get divorced or separated. You have to still file this application form I-751 for them to check to make sure your relationship is real. But if your relationship is going bad, it becomes really difficult. Add insult to injury is the difficulty and the complexity that they've designed how to handle this situation. They recently did an update, USCIS memo update. I'm kind of getting too much into the weeds here. I'm not sure if this is kind of going into too much, but where if you are getting divorced while it's happening, they give more guidance on how USCIS officers are supposed to handle that. But the long and short of it is this: in 9 out of 10 cases, again, you might be 1 out of 10, so that's why you have to contact an attorney. If you're not doing well with your spouse and if things aren't going looking good and you have a 2-year green card, get the divorce process started as soon as possible because USCIS will want to see a divorce before approving that if they know that you are separated and not going to be together. So if they get notice that, for example, your address is changing, living separately, this could be a trigger, or they might do an interview. And when that all happens, you don't want to not be divorced because if you don't have a final divorce certificate based on the way they handle things, they say we can't make a decision. You'll probably have to refile an I-751, or unless you have a waiver-based I-751 saying the spouse was abusive or something like that, U.S. citizen or green card holding spouse, or there's fear of return to your home country. So it dives into complexity here. All is to say, if you have an I-751, always talk with an immigration attorney. Like someone, call us, obviously. Contact us, jqklaw.com/contact. But it has to be analysis of what your history was if you're doing a solo or together. And frankly, if you are with somebody and you're like, oh, it's an easy case, we're in a good relationship, everything's going to work out. I'm looking on my screen right now. There's something on the monitor that's like dirty. And it looks like there's like a bug in my nose. I'm trying to wipe it off, but it's not happening. I'm like, oh, that's the screen. But sorry, I got on a tangent there. Talk with an attorney because you really need to pile this stuff up and know the ins and outs of what happens if the relationship doesn't work out. Because we have cases where he started, 3-4 months into the case, like they get divorced or separated. You had to understand this process. Have videos on them and do more of them. But suffice to say, all the stuff I talked about is how complex they get in the situation. And it's something we deal with a lot, and it's very uncomfortable when it happens. Star asks, how long should you file for a green card after getting married? I mean, depends on the case. It depends on the facts of your case. Usually want to start as soon as possible, really. But the soonest possible depends on your background. All right, Boston asks, I forgot the date of my marriage. Do I need it to apply for a green card? And you need more than that. You're gonna need your marriage certificate, your spouse's information. I don't know how you forget the date of your marriage. So you gotta remember that one. You get in trouble if you forget that one. Number 4 asks, are I-864Ws discontinued? During Trump administration, they discontinued it, even though they shouldn't have. It's back right now, and you could use it for cases where the affidavit support requirement is not required. I'll leave it as that. That goes into a lot of complexity for the I-64W. Frog would ask, is it possible to become a citizen if I got my green card through my dad and he didn't file his 20-year tax return with my category? Is E3 file already applied for citizenship? So your dad's your dad, you're you. So if you're a dependent on him, you're not reliable. And if you have your own taxes, you should file your own taxes. So generally what happens to your father shouldn't affect you. I can't say that for certain because I don't know you probably enough to know exact details of what you're talking about. But that's general stuff. But schedule a consult with the office. We look into more detail. Mohammed says hello to you too as well. Let me switch off to Instagram really quick. Rod Sam says, I got the I-824 approved September 2023, Potomac. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. We actually got a couple of I-824s approved too. That's just a blessing because those take forever. And I think one of them was from September for us too. So they're getting a little faster with the I-824. Seems like it's 6 to 10 months maybe instead of 12 to 18 or longer. It's unfortunate that you have to file that form, but that's that. Mayana says, hello, my husband filed I-130 in March, now received biometric appointment. What will be the next step? So I think if you got a biometrics appointment, you also filed the I-485. You filed a bunch of other applications as well. Download my guide, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. There's a PDF, 40 plus pages, where it goes through the process where depending, you follow what kind of case you're doing, it kind of guides you through what's next and all that kind of stuff. The website's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. And just download that 40 plus page PDF or schedule a consultation if you want to really discuss it, what's going on. jqklaw.com/contact. Separ says, hi, John. Is there any second chance of H-1B? There may be. It's up to USCIS and to notify us. I don't know if that's going to happen. Just we got to see. Boston says, do I need my divorce records for a green card also? Yeah, you need all that kind of stuff. You definitely, if you're asking these kind of questions, you have to schedule a time with the office consultation because you need to review your case, know the details, not to get in trouble, at the very least, what to think about. It's jqklaw.com/contact, and then we'll follow up with you about how it all works. Jimmy James says, is checking U.S. citizen on I-9 form a complete permanent ban for a green card, even if you're married U.S. citizen/veteran? Yeah, unfortunately, Jimmy James, that is a problem that is almost always the case. If the government finds out about it and wants to pursue it. Joe Judd says, good evening, U.S. Immigration Talk Clips. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for joining us. Mohammed says, John, after getting laid off from a company, I filed for a B2 tourist visa to save my H-1B visa within the grace period. Once I find a new job, what are my next steps to get H-1B reactivated? I think you probably have to do a change of status and maintain you had a new employer files for I'm going to be honest, I don't do the H-1Bs in my office. We have my 2 attorneys, Anya Sergeyeva, always Kazi, deal with H-1Bs. So I would say schedule a consultation now because with these change of status and stuff that you have with these things, you got to double check the paperwork, work history when it ended, to have all these kind of stuff ready if USCIS asks for it. Those are the down and dirty that I get into, but the H-1B process, honestly, it's not my passion, so I leave that to my corporate attorneys that do that at the firm. But aside talking with them, you got to really talk with the lawyer as soon as possible to just document everything and be ready for it. So when something happens, you know the lawyer you could email and say, okay, I found the job now. You already have my I-94. You already have my I-129 paperwork, all that kind of stuff. Unless you get a running start to then change back the status, do whatever we need to do to get the status going. So you might even do automatic validation, but there's all these different stuff that you may be able to do. But just schedule a time with the office to talk about it because we want to review the background of that case as well, just your personal background. All right. Thanks for that question, Mohammed. All right. Let's go back to TikTok.
Mahmoud says, have filed for U visa in November. Still haven't got my receipt. How much time will it take to get here? You should contact them. That's way too long. Sometimes they do take that long, unfortunately. Rarely, but it does happen. But you got to contact USCIS. Try calling them and or getting a congressional involvement, all this kind of stuff, because it's kind of a mess. Can you convert a B1 visa to F1 with returning to home country? I'm not sure what you mean about the with return to home country part. You could do a change of status from a B1 tourist visa to an F1 student visa. It's a little complicated because of the way they designed it. They made it a little bit easier recently, but like the timing of when you do stuff gets you in a lot of trouble. So you got to be mindful of that. But yeah, if you leave the U.S., you got to get a visa to come back in. So that could be problematic. They have to go through the embassy process. And some embassies take forever to schedule an interview, and that can mess up your school schedule. Or they just deny your visa and you're stuck outside. So this stuff does happen. It depends on what country you're from, what background you have. But like Iranian people, that happens all the time, unfortunately. They go on a trip back home and they don't get a new visa back in the middle of their PhD studies and stuff. And they have to they have to do a bunch of stuff to try to fix it. And a lot of times it's not fixable. Celia says, our case has been sent to the NBC. What does this mean? Go to our YouTube page, Celia Diego. We have a video that breaks down exactly your question in entirety. Or you could go to our guide, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Even if you're not a marriage case, there's a portion about the National Visa Center or what do in a marriage case, which is the same for almost all cases. Plus, there's a link to that specific video that's like, I think it's 15 or 18 minutes that breaks down every step of the National Visa Center stage. It's in the context of a marriage case. But again, it overlaps. Civil documents, DS 2260, whether an affidavit of support is needed or not is really the main difference between employment-based asylum and marriage. So that should help you out. Landlord says, for the immigrant visa fiance, what percent of the poverty line is used? When you're dealing with the embassy, they just want 100%. So if you go to form I-864P, it's the chart on the left. But for once they come into the United States, or once whoever it is comes to the United States, you get married and you file for the green card, they go 125% based on the chart on the right on form I-864W. But be honest, you want to meet the standards as much as possible because the embassy, even if you make it, they get has to if your income's not enough. So the more, the better. So be mindful for that. Download the guide, marriageimmigrationlaw.com, and that's that. Marcel says, how long does it take for the petition to transfer the U.S. Embassy? Once it's approved, now it's pretty fast. It's taking like 1 or 2 weeks, but we've had times historically where it will take like 2 months, 3 months for them to do it, or sometimes there'd be periods of time where they keep losing stuff and they don't even get transferred. Right now, it's been pretty quick though, but these things change a lot. How long do you? We have VAWA questions. I'll do the VAWA. Sorry. Crazy says, do you think it's best to file I-130 and I-130 first or file everything? Depends on what kind of case and situation you have and the timing of what you need. So I can't say what's best. Depends on what your personal needs are. Yusuf says, there are consequences for not updating my address. Well, they say there's prison time and there's crime and all that kind of stuff. They never enforce it. But the downside is this. If they send you a notice and you don't get it, they'll blame it on you. So if you do not update your address and you miss a notice from the government, there's no saying I didn't get a notice of this. It's your fault for not updating your address. Now, not half the time, but there's some percentage of the time where you update your address and they still send it to the wrong place, and then they'll blame you still. so that's life. Star says, how about if you overstayed but enter legally? I don't know. I kind of lost track of questions were Star, but you guys schedule a consult. I'll really get into that. Forey says, I got annoyed. I'm sorry to hear that. Notice and deny for a second-based marriage 204C. Do I need to go back or fight? I mean, that's bad. They're accusing you of marriage fraud. So you need to get help. This professionally sits with you. We don't go to that route. We don't handle those cases, but there are a lot of firms that at least go through with you, see what's going on, make a decision. You want to fight it. I mean, this is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. So if there's a good argument to fight it, then to do it, but it's going to cost time, money, stress, all the things that are involved. Why does says so you got to kind of think out, like, is this worth it in your life? Just balance it out. Roger says petition filed. I keep saying Roger. Sorry, it's not that easy to just say his life, but that's what it is, unfortunately. Maya Jones said, I can't find marriageimmigrationlaw.com on Google. Oh no, is the website down or something? People have been downloading it. Marriageimmigrationlaw.com. I just put it on there on my computer that no one can see, and I'm looking in front of me. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, it's right there. Marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Let me see if I could post it on Instagram. I was asked. I'll copy paste it because I went there right now, but I'll add a comment so everyone can see. I just posted a comment on it's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. All right, let's go back to which kind of questions are we going to answer? The questions, depending on the social media has come from, are consistently different. It's interesting. Mohammed says thumbs up to you, brother. Okay, Sajida says, how about I-24? I don't know what about it. We had some conversation about that they're getting a little faster recently, but that's it. Ben says I-130 approved in December 2023. I-485 still pending. I-131 denied. What's next? I'm not sure why they denied your I-131. You need to schedule a consultation as soon as possible to talk about that, because that's weird. But we have cases right now where how should I describe it to the bigger audience? So when you do a marriage case in the United States, you file an I-130. This is to say this marriage is real. And you also file another form called I-485 that says, I want a green card based on this real marriage. And you file these two requests at the same time. There's additional requests you do too for travel permission called Form I-131. There's some reason they denied that first case. You don't normally deny that, so I'm not sure what it is. Maybe you have like a background where you're on TPS or something. They don't want to give you that, or some specific reason you enter without EWI in some way, or I'm not sure. 245I kind of case, I don't know. But for whatever reason, they denied that, but the I-485 is still pending. Typically, the whole application is to approve it once. They approve partially one part, that the marriage is real, not the other part. They may be due to problems. That's why you need to talk with us as soon as possible. But it could be just that we have cases where that just happens. Unfortunately, it's stuck like that. So it could be nothing. It could be everything. That's the law for you. Okay. JNZ asks, my friend had a 5-year EAD from marriage. If he will get a 10-year green card. So those are unrelated. So the work permit EAD that he got from marriage is because he had a case pending. You file for a work permit, and that's what that's about. And whether he gets a 2-year or a 10-year green card, not a 5-year or anything, but a 2-year or 10-year green card depends on when his green card is approved that day. Is it more than 2 years after his date of marriage, or is it less than 2 years after his date of marriage? And if it's less, then he gets a 2-year green card and has to renew it. And if it's been a marriage is longer than 2 years, then he gets a 10-year green card and saves him the hassle of having to renew it. So that's how that works. Okay, let's go back to TikTok. Kayla says, how do I find a doctor to certify that my mom can't learn English due to her ADHD? You got to go talk to doctors and pay their consultation fees or whatever and go through them. May says, I'm applying for a green card as an F1 student. If I get an EAD, can I work while going to school? We can work based on EAD. What happens to your underlying status of the F1 visa? It's no good answer. There's no official answer. I'm on the conservative side where I say that if you do work with the EAD based on adjustment of status, the green card application, then it invalidates the F1. It doesn't really matter in the longest game as long as your green card case goes through. But if something happens where a green card case doesn't happen and it gets denied, they don't have the student visa to fall back on because you've worked with the work authorization, so it invalidates the F1. That's my conservative opinion. Really, my opinion is as stupid that you have to get EADs at all. But that based on the rules, to be careful. If you want to have that backup, that would do that. Now, most of my cases, the backup having an F1 valid doesn't make a difference. So if the person really wants to work, there's some good opportunity to make a lot of money, a lot of experience. Yeah, do it. But then it goes into a personal discretion where you balance it out. That's what consultations are for. And people wonder, why are you paying for consultation? We're like talking about your life to help you balance out what the wise decision is. Because from making a better decision, you might end up saying $10,000 or $30,000 later because you planned it out. It's more than law. It's about people and what their lives are about. So that's what we're focused on here. Sim says, I'm under a green card process. I've received my work permit approval today, but they have not mentioned any travel permit. Does that mean the travel permit comes separately? You got to look at the card, and the card will say if you have travel authorization or not. I'm about to sneeze, so I'm not sure how mute works for all this. I'll move my head really quick. Oh, I didn't come. Ooh, okay. All right, so we're talking about, so yeah, you got to look at the card. It'll say if you have. Sometimes they keep it together, sometimes they don't. All right, some more questions. C says, hey, C, can you file for VAWA if you got married to a person who violated the Adam Walsh Act but did not disclose it to you if that person is now in an abusive relationship with you? Well, if you got married, you could do the VAWA. I mean, that's really it. But I'm not a VAWA SRC, like my associate. I can't say an expert, but my team member always works on those. So if that situation popped up for you or someone you know, schedule a consultation where you can talk about it in more detail. But probably VAWA is powerful. It overcomes a lot of stuff, but we got to see if it follows in this particular situation. Sajia says, how do they determine to process I-24? Because I missed where my husband is going to apply immigrant visa. How do they determine to process that? Because I missed one. I'm not sure what you said, but it's going to be depending on where your husband's home base is. So if, let's say your husband's in India, based on his place of birth, they'll fix it up but I don't know how well or bad you've answered the form, but that's a particular issue of how do they know which embassy to go to once it's approved. they'll base that based on the place they live. YouTuber asks, I'm a son of a green card holder. CSPA doesn't apply to me. Is there any way I can stay till priority date without deportation? I don't know. I gotta review your case. I need to sit down and think why you're not CSPA qualified, what status you currently have, if you're DACA qualifiable, if there's other options, and a lot more in that, and your age and passport, all that kind of stuff. So I can't answer that one. Sorry, brother. CU says, thank you. You're welcome, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. May says, I'm applying for a green card. We answered that. Deanna says, my husband had his interview in Juarez. How did it go? Bonnie says, how long does it take you to interview in Juarez? It's getting faster, 6 to 12 months. But Diana, if you get an answer, let us know. Abdul says, I got my 4-year extension on my I-751. My wife is threatening divorce. Abdul, we just talked about it. It's the bunch 20 minutes ago at the beginning of the show. Schedule a consultation. The divorce situation with an I-751 being submitted or pending gets really sticky. The video of this show will be on YouTube. You catch the beginning of it where I go in more detail, but easier to just schedule a consultation and talk with my attorneys. What he just says, if you enter twice, can you still get approved a waiver? If you're talking about the permanent bar, you need to be outside for 10 years before you could apply for a waiver, if that's what you're talking about. Honey Badger says, I'm DQ since 2003, February, Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is pretty backed up. I don't know what kind of case you have exactly, so I can't really advise per se. How long did it take? We already answered that question. Basit said, hello, sir. I did my N400 today. Decision cannot be made. Is this normal? I don't. It depends on your case. And sometimes it happens. It's something I said earlier in the case. Sometimes it's just a mistake and they'll fix it up in 24 hours. And sometimes there's very serious issues. It could be anything. And we have to sit and study your case to see if there is any issue. Even then, it might be they're making a mistake or have some information we don't know about that's problematic. So we got to sit and look at that. It's long and short of that. So user says, regarding the 5 years after age 14 for a parent to pass on citizenship to a child, well, it's 5 years, 2 or 3 of which are after the age of 14. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, not the full 5 years. There's a time as a permanent resident count only when since okay, so the time that can be counted is any time the person was in the United States, regardless of status, and does not have to be continuous. That's people. I've had several consultations on this issue of passing down citizenship, who could do it, who can't. This comes up a lot. So because people have the mistaken impression that you have to have been in status or something like that to do it. So that one works right there. I have this thing on my camera that follows my head move, and I hate it when it does it because it swings the camera around wildly. It just turns off and on its own. Okay, so let's get some Instagram questions. We're near the end of the show. Let's get a couple in. Alejandro says, my mother is a permanent resident. Can she file a petition for me? If you're not married, yes. And it's going to take a while. It's probably going to take 9-10 years or something like that. Check out the visa bulletin on the exact estimates, and their estimates are wildly inaccurate. Angel says, I got my conditional green card, received a notice for biometrics for adjustment of status. I said, did they forget? Sometimes they send some afterwards too. So just go there. I don't know. It's USCIS inconsistencies. Lisa says, my husband's I-618 hasn't filed, fingerprints completed. NBC has case time frame. If the 618 was approved, you got to notify, make sure the NBC has it. And if they approve it and everything else is documentally qualified, then you will, you need, it depends. Some embassies take 2 months to schedule interviews. Some take 1.5 years, 2 years. Depends on the country. So I need to know exactly, review your receipts to see where the case is at. And then it might just be a matter of waiting more still. Would pregnancy be a motive to expedite the immigration process? I haven't seen that work, but it's always good to give it a try. You might get some officer who will be down with it. Angel says, I got my conditional green card. We already answered that kind of stuff. All right, I'm going to fast forward a lot because we got a lot of repeat questions on TikTok. CU says, thank you for the in-depth response. You're welcome, brother. Appreciate it, CU. CU, there you got your gal. I'm saying brother all this time, but or sister. Robert says, I saw the latest visa bulletin. Why it's not moving at all? Yeah, I don't know. That's the government for you. I don't know. Okay. I got my green card that resent. Okay. IR2 visa, got 221G for substance abuse, medical. What's next? You got to wait a year and show proof you've been clean. So your case just got backed up a year plus. Okay. My brother has a green card. His wife's in Pakistan. Does my brother can sponsor her on a green card? My brother has a green card. His wife's in Pakistan. Does my brother? Yeah, he can sponsor her. It's going to take forever. It's going to take like 5 years probably. But we do Pakistani spouse cases all the time. So have your brother schedule a consult with our office, jqklaw.com/contact, and you get it there. I'm starting to lose my voice. I forgot to bring in tea and water with me right now. So and then gonna might end the show early. We got 5 minutes. We get 2 more questions, and we'll call it a day. Okay, let's see. Kyla says, what to do if you had a clean record when you did the biometrics, but got arrested afterwards? You got to talk with the lawyer, criminal lawyer, and an immigration lawyer. That's what you got to do. There's nothing more than that. Just one thing, do that, and then take the rest. Then listen to them. At least actually talk to a couple lawyers you can afford the time and the money. Do you help with change of status from tourist visa to student visa? Yes, we do. Send us a message, jqklaw.com/contact. J as in Jack, Q as in Queen, K as in King. And then we'll follow up with you on that. Wale says, my USC spouse, my citizen spouse lost her ID today. We have our interview in 6 days. Can we use our passport as ID? Yeah, some officers will ask for the driver's license or something like that, or ID, but just say we lost it. I mean, it's not a requirement. You need ID, your passport works. So don't let them hassle you for that. User 60 says, so you think my brother wait for his passport then sponsor his wife? I don't know. I have to see. I have to talk with your brother to see how long it's going to take him and like what the situation of the person's lives are. If the wife wants to come study in the United States for a bit or have a scheduled consult, it's too personal to be able to like get into that detail here. So I need to see what their goals in life are, where they're at. Mona says, how long does it take to get an answer after you do RFE response? There's no fixed timeline. How long ago are adjustment employment based? All these timeline questions are unknown. What happens after I-130 approval? Well, you either do consular processing or adjustment of status if the case is current. That's very technical, but we need to know. It's kind of a very general answer, so I have to give a really general kind of response with technical terms. But videos on this, just download our guide. Actually, the best things out there, download the guide. 40 pages. I put it all in there. marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, that's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we have a lively crowd, good discussion. I really appreciate everything that you all do. It's a blessing to have this opportunity to come and talk with all these people from across the world. Hopefully, give me the opportunity to help you in your lives. And if you needed more help, just hit us up at jqklaw.com/contact and let us know. And hopefully, we can work together to get you to your destinies and allow you to follow your passions in life. God bless. Be safe, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.